Humans still rely on projectile weapons. Noravi, a sharp-tongued Lysolian, scoffed as they gathered around a hollow terminal in the central atrium. Can you imagine? Slugs of metal propelled by gunpowder. It's like studying ancient history. The other students chuckled in agreement, though Veclair remained silent. He, too, had assumed that Earth's technological advancements were far behind their own. His people wielded advanced plasma rifles capable of dissolving targets with a single, clean burst of energy. Energy weapons were precise, efficient, and scientifically superior. Why would anyone still rely on something so barbaric as ballistic weaponry? But there was an undercurrent of something unsettling about Earth. Despite their supposedly inferior technology, humans had a reputation among the Federation's military circles. Their soldiers were renowned for their resilience in battle, and their survival in environments that would crush most other species was the stuff of whispered legend. Their professor, a neutral Tylarian with deep-set eyes and a cool demeanor, floated into view. He activated the central holo display, filling the air with images of Earth's military forces. Tanks, planes, soldiers. Among them, the unmistakable glint of rifles and sidearms stood out. Earth, he began, has developed a unique approach to warfare, primitive in appearance, yet somehow effective. Your task is to study their weaponry in depth and compare it to our own. You'll be visiting Earth to witness firsthand their combat training. The students exchanged puzzled glances. Visit Earth? Veclair's lower limbs twitched in surprise. He hadn't expected a hands-on experience, much less a field trip to a planet known for its aggressive history. Earth had barely scratched the surface of interstellar travel, and yet here they were, ready to study its weapons. Noravi raised a tentacle, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Are we to compare sticks and stones with plasma bursts? The professor's gaze sharpened. You may be surprised, Noravi. Humanity has something we often overlook in our technological superiority: adaptation. They have turned their limitations into strengths. There was a quiet buzz among the students. Veclair frowned. Adaptation? Strength and limitation? It seemed paradoxical. Could there really be something about humans they had all missed? The professor continued. Human weapons may seem archaic to you, but they reflect their history of constant conflict. Earth has never been a peaceful world. War, strife, and survival have shaped their technology into something efficient, more so than you may think. A twinge of curiosity stirred within Veclair. He wasn't the only one. Even Noravi had gone quiet, her earlier confidence now replaced by a thin line of concentration. The professor had planted a seed of doubt in their collective minds, and it was clear that their assumptions about Earth and humans were now under scrutiny. As the class session ended, the professor issued a final, cryptic statement. Prepare yourselves. What you'll find on Earth may not fit neatly into your expectations. Veclair floated away from the group, feeling a rare mixture of anticipation and unease. Earth had just become much more than an academic curiosity. There was something deeper at play, something that neither technology nor textbooks could explain. And soon, they would see it for themselves. The group of alien students arrived at the human military training facility. Veclair hovered just behind the others, his four limbs fidgeting as they entered the outdoor firing range. The metallic tang of gun oil mixed with the earthy scent of dirt and grass, a distinctly terrestrial smell. Rows of human soldiers stood in perfect formation, each gripping a sidearm, ready for the demonstration. Noravi wrinkled her tendrils in disdain. Primitive, she said, the word laced with derision. They still use individual weapons? In close combat. The rest of the group shared her sentiment. They had been raised on the understanding that energy-based weaponry was the pinnacle of combat efficiency, sleek, precise, and lethal at any range. Veclair, though silent, found his mind racing with the same doubts. How could these handheld metal contraptions, launching physical projectiles, compare to the pinpoint accuracy of energy beams? Their human guide, Captain Harris, approached the group with a grin. He was a tall man with broad shoulders, his eyes gleaming with a mix of pride and curiosity at the alien visitors. "You're in for a treat," he said, his voice steady calm. "Today, you'll get a close look at the weapons that have defined human warfare for centuries." With a quick nod to the soldiers, the demonstration began. One by one, the soldiers raised their sidearms, a small, compact weapon designed for close-quarters combat. The air cracked with sharp retorts as bullets sliced through the sky, each one finding its mark on distant paper targets. The aliens flinched, startled by the sheer force and sound of the weapons. Veclier's limbs stiffened as he watched the soldiers reload with practiced ease, their movements fluid, unthinking. The precision was undeniable. Every shot hit its target with an accuracy that left the students in stunned silence. "How?" Noravi whispered, her earlier confidence evaporating. "How can they control such a chaotic force?" Captain Harris chuckled, overhearing her. "It's not chaos. It's control, discipline. Every human soldier spends years mastering the balance between power and precision." Veclier focused on the targets. Each bullet hole was nearly identical, clustered tightly in the center of the bullseye. It was a kind of accuracy he'd only seen in automated systems. Yet these humans were doing it manually, with no assistance from targeting computers or advanced aiming technology. It didn't make sense. How could a species with inferior weapons achieve such consistency? "Your weapons," Veclier finally spoke, his voice tinged with disbelief. "They lack the sophistication of energy weapons. They're imprecise, inefficient." Captain Harris tilted his head, his expression unreadable. "Imprecise? Let's test that theory." He handed a sidearm to Veclier, who hesitated before gripping it in his lower arms. The cold metal felt alien, heavy in a way that his energy rifles never were. Harris guided him to the firing line, showing him how to hold it properly. The weapon's weight was uncomfortable, its design so basic compared to the sleek lines of Veclier's own plasma weaponry. "Give it a try," Harris encouraged. Veclier aimed at the target, his upper limbs trembling slightly. With a deep breath, he squeezed the trigger. The gun recoiled violently in his grip, nearly throwing him off balance. The sound was deafening, the impact jarring. He looked at the target, expecting to see wild, scattered shots. But there, just off-center, was a clean hole. He blinked in disbelief. It was his shot. Despite the crude mechanics, despite the brutal recoil, the weapon had obeyed him, almost as if responding to his will. "The thing about humans," Harris said, breaking the silence, "is that we thrive on mastering the unpredictable. We've fought in environments and against enemies that no other species could survive. Our weapons reflect that adaptability. They aren't just tools. They're an extension of us." Veclier stared at the sidearm in his grip, feeling the weight of those words. What he had dismissed as primitive was something far more complex. The other students, too, looked uneasy, their assumptions shaken. As the demonstration concluded, the group moved toward the next phase of their visit. But the image of the bullet's precise impact stayed with Veclier. There was more to these humans and their weapons than met the eye, and the next demonstration promised even more surprises. The roar of gunfire echoed across the training grounds as the alien students gathered once more, this time before a group of human soldiers armed with assault rifles. The weapon, sleek but rugged, was a far cry from the handheld sidearms they had seen earlier. These rifles exuded a different kind of menace, built for speed, power, and sustained fire. Veclier felt a subtle tremor in his limbs as he gazed at them. The sidearm demonstration had already shaken his assumptions. Now, these larger weapons seemed poised to challenge him further. Captain Harris stood at the head of the group, his demeanor serious but charged with anticipation. "This," he said, patting the stock of his rifle, "is what you'd call a human staple, the assault rifle. It's adaptable, reliable, and deadly in any hands." Noravi sneered, though her earlier arrogance had dimmed. "Adaptable? I fail to see how such a primitive weapon could handle the dynamic complexity of a battlefield. Surely, they lack the precision of our energy rifles." Harris merely smiled and turned to the soldiers lined up on the range. "Let's show them." In synchronized motion, the soldiers fanned out, each taking positions behind cover. The aliens watched as, with mechanical efficiency, the humans began their drill. The rifle spat streams of bullets downrange, the soldiers moving with fluid precision, advancing, retreating, and taking aim with unerring accuracy. The ground seemed to vibrate under the assault, bullets striking distant targets with lethal speed and consistency. Veclair watched in awe. It wasn't just the firepower that captivated him, but the way the humans moved, coordinating seamlessly without a single directive. They weren't relying on targeting systems or automation, just pure instinct, training, and communication. The rifle, much like the sidearm before it, was not simply a tool. It was an extension of the soldier wielding it. "They fire without overheating," Veclair whispered, astonished. "And they reload so quickly." Noravi, now subdued, nodded in reluctant agreement. "Their energy-to-impact ratio is efficient." Harris, overhearing, stepped forward. "That's the beauty of it. Our assault rifles are designed to function in any condition. Heat, cold, sandstorms, zero gravity, you name it. We don't need perfect conditions to fight. The rifles keep firing when everything else fails." One of the soldiers paused to reload, and Veclair noticed how smooth the process was, efficient and fast. He couldn't help but compare it to his own weapons, which required recalibration after each energy burst to avoid overheating. The human weapons, for all their lack of sophistication, had a relentless reliability that his people had never needed to consider. Captain Harris continued, sensing the shift in the students' attitudes. "Humanity has never had the luxury of stability. Our planet, our history, has been one of constant change, wars, disasters, hostile environments. Our weapons are built to keep up. We don't need to rely on auto-targeting systems or environmental controls. In fact, we're at our best when things are unpredictable." There was a grim truth to his words. Veclair had studied the history of human warfare. Conflicts fought on Earth's rugged terrain, in conditions no other species would willingly endure. They had adapted not just their technology, but their entire approach to combat, using the chaos to their advantage. It was a philosophy utterly foreign to Veclair's species, who prized precision and control above all else. One of the soldiers switched from rapid fire to single-shot mode, hitting targets with the same deadly precision as before. Veclair's limbs tightened as he watched the bullets strike with surgical accuracy. "How do they maintain such precision at variable ranges?" he asked, his voice laced with genuine curiosity. Harris smiled, clearly proud. "That's the thing about humans. We train for every scenario, every environment. Our rifles are just as versatile as we are. In battle, we don't rely on our weapons alone. We rely on the synergy between human and machine." For the first time, Veclair understood. The power of human weapons wasn't in the technology itself. It was in the way they used it. Every piece of gear was designed with adaptability in mind, allowing them to shift tactics on the fly, without hesitation. It wasn't about perfection. It was about endurance, flexibility, and mastery over the unknown. As the demonstration drew to a close, the students exchanged glances, their earlier disdain now replaced by a quiet respect. Veclair couldn't deny it. Humanity's weapons, once dismissed as primitive, were far more formidable than they had ever imagined. And there was still more to see. The sniper rifles awaited, and Veclair could only imagine what further revelations they would bring. The previous thunderous roar of assault rifles had been replaced by a tense, anticipatory silence. Veclair and the other alien students stood at the edge of the field, eyes fixed on a lone human soldier prone on the ground, his form still and focused. In his hands rested a long, sleek weapon, far more refined than the brutish assault rifles they had just witnessed. This was a sniper rifle, designed for precision, stealth, and lethality at unimaginable distances. Captain Harris gestured toward the sniper. "This is where human ingenuity truly shines," he said, his voice low, as if unwilling to disturb the concentration of the soldier. "What You're about to see is what separates humans from many other species. The sniper rifle isn't just about long-range firepower. It's about patience, calculation, and above all, trust in one's own skill. Veclier's eyes narrowed as he studied the sniper. The weapon seemed almost archaic compared to the precision-based plasma rifles he was accustomed to, tools that relied on targeting systems to track and eliminate targets across vast distances. Yet here, the human sniper used nothing but his eyes, scope, and a rifle that shot nothing more advanced than a supersonic bullet. Can this weapon truly match our energy rifles at this range? Veclier asked, doubt creeping into his voice despite what he had seen earlier. Captain Harris grinned. Let's find out. The human sniper exhaled slowly, his finger brushing against the trigger. The students leaned in, trying to comprehend the enormity of the shot he was about to take. The target, an unmanned drone, hovered several kilometers away, barely a speck against the horizon, without any advanced targeting systems. The sniper had only his training and the weapon's finely tuned mechanics to guide him. Then, with a single, almost imperceptible motion, the sniper squeezed the trigger. The sound was barely a whisper compared to the earlier assault rifle fire, a low crack that seemed to blend with the wind. For a moment, nothing happened. The silence stretched, and Veclier's heart thudded in his chest. Had the shot missed? A second later, the drone exploded in the distance, disintegrating into fiery debris. The shockwave of realization rippled through the group, and Veclier's limbs froze in astonishment. The shot had traveled the impossible distance and struck its mark with pinpoint accuracy. No computers, no auto-tracking systems, just human skill. Naravi's voice trembled as she spoke. How can they, with just their eyes? Captain Harris crossed his arms, a proud gleam in his eyes. Human snipers are trained to calculate wind speed, curvature of the Earth, even the Coriolis effect. It's all about understanding physics, gravity, momentum, air resistance. We don't need AI to guide our weapons. Our best weapon is up here. He tapped his temple. Veclier stood, stunned. The precision of the shot was on par with, if not superior to, anything his species' advanced weaponry could accomplish. But it wasn't just a shot that shook him. It was the knowledge that the sniper, with nothing more than a rifle and raw instinct, had mastered the art of long-range combat in a way no machine could replicate. It was human skill, honed over years, that made the difference. As the students murmured among themselves, Captain Harris turned to them. You see, our weapons aren't just tools. They reflect who we are. We don't rely on them to do the work for us. Instead, we adapt to whatever the battlefield throws at us. That's what makes us dangerous. Noravi remained silent, her earlier arrogance completely eroded. Veclier could see her grappling with the realization that humanity's so-called primitive weapons were, in fact, extensions of their adaptability and mastery over their environment. Later, in the debriefing room, the students compared notes. Their plasma rifles were superior in terms of power output, but required perfect conditions to operate at maximum efficiency. Human weapons, by contrast, thrived in chaos. They were reliable, versatile, and lethal, even when stripped of technological aids. Veclier's limbs twitched with newfound respect as he reviewed his own notes. The sidearms, the assault rifles, and now the sniper rifles, they all revealed the same truth. Humans didn't need the most advanced technology. They were the most advanced technology. As the students prepared to leave Earth, Veclier cast one last glance at the military range. Humanity had mastered weapons not through technology, but through perseverance, adaptability, and an understanding of the unforgiving universe. Their weapons were just reflections of the indomitable spirit behind them. And Veclier knew, with a certainty that left him unsettled, that the galaxy had underestimated humans for far too long.